The scholastic worldview is built on balance, connection, senses turned into action through deliberation, motion from one stage to the next, an overlapping grid, 3 rows for the 3 powers of the soul, columns bringing each row to completion. Today's focus, the 8th stage of the human act, election, turning intentions into choices. Do A, not B, or do the opposite. Real choices, tough choices, not avoiding them like the indecisive, not rushing them like the impulsive. Good choices, material and immaterial in contact. You could call it general principles applied to concrete situations, an expression of our free will, which is denied by the determinist. It's the physical impulses he receives. Those are the real causes. It is only pretended that we are free agents, and there is no internal virtue or independent soul directing the machine, which is your body. Everything you think, feel, or do is the inevitable result of the material world. Both Diderot and Voltaire compared people to ants, and they kind of have a point. You could say you think that you're acting freely and everyone around you, and then you look down at the ants and they seem to be driven by some sort of motor. But you ever seen people from an airplane? They're kind of moving around like ants. And it's a position that was emboldened by scientific progress. The future is not a matter of choice. Free will is an illusion. We may not know what the exact causes are, but we can be sure, somehow, that they are governed by the laws of physics. Your choices are the result of physical movement of particles through your brain. Deliberation is just your experience of the laws of physics playing out in a complex system. But wait, maybe it's not all predetermined. Maybe quantum indeterminacy can save us by allowing the freedom necessary to make free choices. So good news, we rescued human freedom. The bad news, it's 34 places behind the decimal point. Well, ancient and medieval thinkers had a different view of the world, but they had similar questions. Are human actions reducible to physical principles, particles in motion? And it's true that all the material movements are reducible to material causes. Yeah, that's true. But it's also true that the actions proceeding from the intellect and the will are reducible to immaterial causes. If you can understand my voice, you are not a machine. You are not an ant either, and this is a warning. You can know a whole lot about biology and still run into trouble by failing to make necessary distinctions, like between a person and a bug. The opposite error sees human freedom as totally unmoored by reason. The individual must break off deliberation, a leap from non-existence to existence instead of a rational progression of an argument. But that's okay. We're not really rational by nature anyway. In fact, deliberation is contrary to our nature. The man who meditates is a depraved animal. Okay, so if we're not rational, what is our nature? What are we? We are free. Great. But free from reason? Yep. In fact, man is condemned to be free and therefore responsible for what he is. Not just responsible for what he does, but for what he is, because there is no human nature. Existence precedes essence. Wait, is freedom our essence, or are we free from essence? Or is that the same thing? And what does any of this have to do with studying physics? Well, first of all, we are free. Really free, but not totally free. Free to choose the means. The end is predetermined, like in a physics problem. Our ultimate end is happiness. I mean, that's why you do anything, right? Ultimately, it's because you want to be happy. You're pursuing happiness. You study to get good grades, so you get a job, so you can have money and a career, and ultimately happiness. Or you study so you'll gain knowledge, so you'll understand the world, and that'll bring peace and ultimately happiness, right? Or for some other reason, or, to show off, I don't know, but ultimately that happiness is the end goal, but we are free to choose the means. Again, we are really free, but not totally free, and every puzzle or physics problem is like that too. Some pieces move, others don't, and the pieces that can move can only move in certain ways, yet somehow it all has to fit and work together. And your job is to figure it out. And that requires all the skills at your disposal. It also requires you to know what you're doing, to know how all the pieces work together, something that you can only figure out ultimately through repeated experience, through forming habits, good habits, and we call those virtues. And according to Aristotle, it is not necessity. It is not luck or chance or some sort of quantum happening or anything else. It is those virtues that make us choose aright.